After my real estate portfolio collapsed in 2008, I spent weeks making financial decisions without knowing one critical number. Not a complicated number, not something that required a financial advisor or an accounting degree, just one simple number that would have told me exactly where the floor was and stopped me from falling through it. I didn't know it, and that ignorance cost me more than the collapse itself. I'm going to give you that number today. What it is, why most men never find it, how to calculate it with brutal honesty, and how to use it as the foundation of every financial decision you make during your rebuild. This is the video I needed in 2008. So let's get into it. Here's what a financial collapse does to a man's relationship with money that nobody talks about honestly. It makes him afraid of his own numbers. Not careless, not irresponsible, but just afraid. Because looking at the real numbers, the written down, can't pretend otherwise, honest numbers mean fully accepting how far you've fallen. And most men aren't ready to do that in the first weeks after a collapse. So they don't. They operate on approximations. They have a general sense of how bad things are, but they protect themselves from the precise truth. I did the same thing after 2008. I was managing 6 mortgages on properties. I had paid $120,000 for each one, and now they were worth about $40,000 each. My income had gone to zero completely, suddenly, with no warning. I had $50,000 in savings that I was burning through trying to keep everything current so that I could keep my credit score and keep my properties. And for weeks, I avoided writing down the real numbers because I already knew what they would say. And the part of me that was still in shock wasn't ready to see it in black and white yet. What I didn't understand then, and what took me years and 2 more collapses to fully accept, is that avoiding the number doesn't protect you from it. It just lets it get worse in the dark while you're looking away. After the travel company closed during COVID, after watching $1 million a year in revenue disappear in a matter of weeks, I did it again. I told myself I was managing the situation, and what I was actually doing was reacting to it without any real clarity about where I stood. Reacting is not the same as managing. Managing requires a number. Reacting just requires a pulse. So after the fix and flip fund collapsed, after losing nearly $500,000 in investor capital because interest rate hikes made buyers disappear, I finally, for the 3rd time, had to sit down and face the numbers honestly. And each time, all 3 times, the moment I stopped avoiding the real number and started working from it, something shifted. Not the number. The number didn't change because I looked at it. What changed was me. I stopped being afraid of something I already knew, and I started being someone who worked with the truth instead of around it. The number I want to give you today is your survival number. It is the most important number in a financial rebuild, and most men never calculate it deliberately. So step 1, understand what the survival number actually is. Your survival number is the minimum amount of money you need every single month to keep your life from getting worse. Not the amount you need to be comfortable, not the amount you need to feel like things are normal again, but the floor, the absolute minimum, the number below which your situation actively compounds and becomes harder to escape. It is not your budget. A budget is what you plan to spend. Your survival number is what you must cover to stay stable. Rent or mortgage, basic utilities, transportation to income, food. The things that keep the foundation of your life from collapsing further. Nothing else, not yet. Most men in a rebuild have never calculated this number deliberately. They've always had enough buffer that they didn't need to. But when the buffer disappears and the income drops, suddenly they're making decisions without knowing where the floor is. And not knowing where the floor is means you're afraid of every step. Every decision feels like it might be the one that breaks everything. That fear paralyzes you, and paralysis is the most expensive thing a man in a rebuild can experience. Your survival number ends that fear. It tells you exactly where the floor is, and when you know where the floor is, even if it's further down than you want it to be, you stop being afraid of it. You start building above it instead of falling towards it. Step 2, calculate it with brutal honesty. This step requires you to do one thing most men in a financial crisis actively avoid. Look at every transaction from the last 30 days, not your best guess, every single one. Pull your bank statements, pull your card statements, every account, every card, every platform. Write down or log every outgoing transaction from the last 30 days without editing, without skipping or judging yourself for what you find. Now separate every expense into exactly 2 categories. Category 1, it keeps me functional. This means it directly prevents your life from falling further apart. Rent or mortgage, a car payment if that car gets you to income, electric and water, groceries, basic phone service. These are non-negotiable stabilizers. The other category is category 2, and this is what keeps you comfortable. This means it maintains the lifestyle you had before the collapse. Streaming services, subscriptions, gym memberships, dining out, Amazon habits, extras that felt normal when money was flowing, but are now luxuries you can't afford to treat as necessities. So go through every single line, be ruthless, be honest, and if it belongs in category 2, it belongs in category 2, even if cutting it is uncomfortable. Then you add up category 1, the total is your survival number. It will almost certainly be lower than you thought it was going to be. And that is not a comfort. That's a critical information that you need to have, because now you have a real number to work from instead of a feeling to react to. Step 3, compare it to what's actually coming in. Now, if you have 2 numbers, your survival number and what you must cover every month, and then your current income, which is what's actually coming in right now, today, not what you hope will come in next month, those 2 numbers are critical for your rebuild. If your income covers your survival number, you have a foundation. It may be thin, it may be fragile, but it is a real foundation. Your job now is to protect it while you build above it. Don't touch the floor. Don't make decisions that threaten it. Work above it and only above it. If your income does not cover your survival number, the gap is the only thing that matters right now. Not investing, not long-term planning, not income streams for 3 years from now. The gap is your emergency. Every decision, every hour, every ounce of energy goes toward closing that gap first. After my 2008 collapse, my gap was real and it was significant. The properties were bleeding money I didn't have. The income was gone. The gap between what I needed and what I had was wide enough to feel impossible. But once I had the real number, once I stopped approximating and started working from the truth, I could see exactly what needed to happen. Not everything at once, just the next move, and then the next move, and then the next move after that. So write both numbers down, put them next to each other, and that comparison is the clearest picture of your actual situation that you have. Honor it, work from it, and don't look away from it. Step 4, use the number as your decision filter. And here's where the survival number stops being just information and becomes a tool. Every financial decision you face during a rebuild, every single one, can now be filtered through one question. Does this protect my survival number, or does it threaten it? An opportunity comes up that requires money you don't have. Before you would pursue it, this time, ask, does this protect the floor, or do I put it at risk? If it puts the floor at risk, the answer is no. Not because the opportunity isn't real, but because a man with a floor can't build anything on top of it. If you don't have that floor, you can't build anything above it. A creditor calls and asks for a payment you can't make in full. Before you agree to anything, ask, does this arrangement protect my survival number or does it compromise it? If agreeing means you can't cover the floor next month, then that arrangement needs to be renegotiated. A family expense comes up that feels urgent. Before, you would just pay it. But ask the question, protect the floor or threaten it. This is not about being cold or selfish. This is about understanding that a man who loses his floor loses everything again. And the people around you are not served by a man who collapses a second time because he didn't protect his foundation the first time around. So one filter, one question, applied consistently. It removes emotion from financial decisions and it replaces it with a standard. And a standard is what makes rebuilding possible. And then step 5, once the floor is protected, build one level at a time. The survival number is not where you live, it's where you start. Once your income reliability and consistently covers your survival number, and I mean reliably, not just barely, not just some months, you add the next layer. One layer at a time, not 5 at a time, just one. Make that first layer a small emergency buffer. Even if it's $300 or $1,000 in a separate account that you do not touch unless the floor is directly threatened. That buffer becomes the first thing between you and the next unexpected hit. Once that buffer exists, the next layer. Maybe it's one debt payment above the minimum. Maybe it's one income building action you take every single week without fail. Maybe it's the first step toward the income stream you've been thinking about but haven't started. So do one level at a time, not because you lack ambition, but because a rebuild on a solid floor, layer by layer, level by level, is a rebuild that actually holds. The men I watched fail after their own collapses were the men who tried to skip levels, who went from survival mode to investment mode without building the middle, who treated the floor as a temporary situation and moved past it before it was solid. They fell again because the foundation wasn't ready. So know your floor, protect it without compromise, and then build above it. One deliberate, patient, honest level at a time. So here's what I want you to carry out of this video. Financial clarity is not a luxury. For a man in a rebuild, it is a survival tool. You cannot make good decisions from fear. You cannot build on a foundation you've not measured. And you cannot stop the bleeding if you don't know where the wound is. One number, your survival number. Find it today, not tomorrow, not this weekend, but today. Write it down, put it somewhere visible, let it become the standard that every financial decision gets measured against. That number is not a ceiling. It's not a life sentence. It's the beginning of something real because it's the truth. And rebuilding on the truth, no matter how painful that truth is the only kind of rebuild that actually holds. Everything above that number is progress. And progress, any progress, no matter how small, is the direct opposite of collapse. So if you want a step-by-step system instead of trying to figure this out on your own, I put together a 30-day free rebuild blueprint that walks you through one video a day, and you take notes, and it is divided into 4 different weeks. The first week is about stabilizing. The second week is about cash flow. The third week is about income creation. And then the 4th week is about the long-term rebuild. You'll find the link to that in the description below. And then next Thursday, we're going to go deep on fear, specifically the fear of starting over that keeps men frozen long enough after the collapse is over, and what to actually do about it. That one drops on Thursday, so don't miss that. And as usual, if you found this helpful, please subscribe, like, and share with other friends or family members who need to rebuild as well. And let's rebuild together. That's Wealth Mode.